しぶといぜ。
Alright, what's good everybody? So this time around I actually got something that's, you know, having to deal with the actual like in-game stuff, not really specifically for 6, but I will be actually talking about something that's a lot more closely related to you actually performing in-game, because a lot of the stuff that I have mentioned tend to deal with the more spiritual and like psychological aspect of things, and that's something that not everybody can relate to. But the one thing that we all eventually come around is like, you know, what controller is right for us and stuff. And it's something that I actually have my own little like journey on, because of the fact that I've had periods and where like I switch between like pad and stick, even though like nowadays like it's definitive that stick for me is like gonna be like the main thing that I use here on out. But I have used things even as unorthodox as like an actual like keyboard and stuff, and I'm gonna be going over how that came about and like, you know, where I got my experience from, and like how my experience was like learning games such as like Street Fighter or like tag fighters like Marvel and Dragon Ball with both stick and pad and stuff. And I have a lot of things that I have to say about all this and stuff, and hopefully a lot of the things that I, you know, talk about as far as like my own experiences and the disadvantages and advantages that there are between each one of these things. A lot of these things will definitely hopefully help you guys like kind of flesh out, you know, where you exist in the realm of things and like where exactly it is that you stand on the field of things, you know. So let's go ahead and get right into things. Alright, what's good everybody? So during this segment, the sound from Street Fighter 4 was actually drowning out my voice that I had recorded for this segment of the video. So I'm gonna just be talking over this segment again and stuff, and kind of like cutting down on certain things because I kind of rambled on about like some of the same things over and over again. So just hear me out for now. During this segment, I was talking about how like you know, back when I was first like getting started with things, all I had at my disposal was a PS3 pad, because you know, the way that I was playing Street Fighter 4 was on a PS3 that I had at the time. And I remember like having to like learn to execute like I was at the time I was still in the stages of learning how to actually like input the quarter circle motions and stuff, and I was like experimenting with a few characters that had like things uniquely like specific to them, like you know, the double quarter circles, the DPs, the 360s, the double 360s, and also the weird inputs that you don't really see nowadays in Street Fighter games, like the guile like weird triangle shit, down back, like you guys know what I'm talking about. But like supers like those don't exist nowadays, and nowadays like since things are kind of being reduced down to like direction into special button or like down inputs, like even like lightning kicks, for example, like that's become a quarter circle motion instead of like mashing kick over and over again. Things have been simplified nowadays, and whether or not you agree with it or not, that's really you know, that only exists within your mind now. Like the way that these developers are like wanting to kind of simplify things, it's both good and bad in my opinion, because of the fact that you know, it gives people a lot more leeway to like enter into these games. But then, like, you know, I feel like in a way we are kind of dumbing ourselves down when it comes to like, you know, the skill ceiling, and like those that are that actually train to have like a certain level of execution. It kind of leaves out a bit of room for the, you know, moments to where, you know, like this one guy has like this shit locked in down to like the frame when it comes to like execution. You don't see moments like that anymore and stuff. But it's, to me, it's not the end of the world like how others treat it, but I do understand why people in that aspect feel the way they do. But putting that aside and stuff, back to where I was coming from and stuff, there are some segments where I actually pointed out how, like, because a lot of the footage that you're seeing right now is me playing on a PS4 pad, to really show you guys like how much like how much I kind of am like at a disadvantage for me personally as the type of player that I am and stuff when it comes to like playing on pad. But also to show you guys that I still have enough like experience and knowledge to be able to perform, even though it would have been better to show you guys like some in-game stuff. But we're talking for the most part about execution and things, so I didn't really feel the need to do that. But I will say this is that you know, I'm still able to play games like 6 and Dragon Ball with a pad, but it won't be at the same, you know, at the same level as, you know, me playing on an arcade stick, because of the fact that nowadays, like, I'm more fleshed out and more refined with a actual fight stick and stuff compared to an actual pad. But I will say that there are like certain advantages that I do have on pad that I don't think I would ever get in an arcade stick, because of the fact that, you know, buttons are a lot more close together and stuff. And for some reason during this footage, like, I was hitting the one framers a lot more consistently than I was on arcade stick. But I don't know why that is, truly. And I'm willing to bet if I give it enough time to really like practice, like I could 9 times out of 10 build more consistency with the one framers on arcade stick too. But you know, and I also talked about how, like, you know, when it came to pad, one of the biggest cons that I had for myself personally is that I'm not able to do like special inputs with the D-pad. So I have to switch between like using the D-pad to like move around, and also going back to analog stick, because of how like my hands are like kind of retarded when it comes to that. So I actually have I mean, if you missed out on it in the beginning segment of the video where I had like the weird little montage here and there, I'm gonna put it on screen right now. You can actually see my thumb move back between like the analog stick and the actual D-pad, and that's actually for a good time how I actually like played fighting games, and it's still how I play when I am forced to use pad. That's how I actually like play and stuff, you know. And it's worked for me, honestly. And when I do get into the groove of things, I am actually able to perform out well with an arcade, or with a pad as well as an arcade stick. But you know, it takes a lot more time for me to get used to that and to actually like progress further with the actual game compared to like an arcade stick, to where I'm much more comfortable and natural with it now, and I don't even have to bat an eye to like half the things I do on an arcade stick, and I can learn things a lot more smoothly and quickly. It's just something that it's gonna be something that's unique to everybody. Like, I know people that are like the complete opposite, so they're much more comfortable with a pad compared to like an arcade stick and stuff. And there's other things that I talk about like later on, which I'm gonna be reviewing the footage to see if I need to kind of clear things up and speak over again. But you know, for this Street Fighter 4 segment, I believe there's one more that I'll talk about. Like, I remember if the footage exists, like, then I'll be going over like some of the same stuff that I've mentioned already about 4, but instead I'm actually using an arcade stick this time, and you'll see here that I'm doing things a lot more consistently. And another thing that I had mentioned too that's actually important is that doing a lot of those things on one side was already hard enough, but like when I start to face like the left specifically, like things just become like 10 times like more harder and stuff. And it's something that I even deal with like a leverless, even though I use the 6 segment to really like talk about those things. And you know, in the midst of a match, like it really did matter. I even remember having some of the games when I was playing 4 kind of like drop from my grip because of the fact that, you know, my execution was cut into halves even more when I faced a certain direction, just because of how like how my brain was too smooth to play on a pad compared to an arcade stick. You know, that's something that, once again, that's just something exclusive to me personally. And you'll see in some of the footage here that this arcade stick footage that I'm actually like able to get things a lot more consistently. And just like going back and remembering how when I was trying out each one of the controllers, like it just felt more natural and smoother to me. And it took a lot less time to get like used to and stuff, because with any of these any controller that you use and stuff, you can build and work your way up to and stuff, but just know that you'll be definitely moving at different speeds when it comes to like a lot of these. But know that each one of these things are viable. And I mean, I've seen like people play on like I've seen people play on like an actual keyboard. If you've seen some of the footage, you've seen I'm able to like do combos with a keyboard and stuff, so it's definitely possible. But I can't remember, but we've seen some jank controllers out there. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But this will end the 4 segment of the video, and we'll be moving on to 6 to further elaborate on some of the things that I've already mentioned here. Alright, what's good everybody? So back with Street Fighter 6 and stuff. The reason why I moved back to this game is because I'm not even going to try to attempt half the things I did in 4 with a keyboard, because the keyboard is something that I'm going to be using that will kind of simulate a leverless, even though truly it is in its own way a leverless controller. But you know, I'm using a keyboard specifically because I don't own a actual like leverless style pad controller. I've used one before, however I personally do not own one, and I'm gonna be going over the reason as to even why I don't have one. But I want to showcase you guys also like how, or give you guys my own input on like how the experience is with an actual like leverless style controller is. And for me personally, like there are things about it that I do like. If I haven't mentioned it already, like your inputs here will actually be much cleaner also, actually even a lot more cleaner on average if you truly took the time to like train and master like this style of controller. I think in the long run, like it'll actually like do you much better than you'll be playing in an even more optimal like state than if you were to play like stick or pad, in my opinion. However, the curve to learn a leverless style controller, to me personally, is a lot harder, and that's especially true when like I switch to this side and stuff and I can't even get a DP out consistently. Like, doing this is so weird to me. I can't even fathom it. But you know, when I'm facing the right side, like everything like changes and stuff, and honestly, like everything's a lot more smoother here. As you can see, I was able to do a combo. Let's see if I can get the... See, I can still do like combos like that and stuff on the easy run cancels and all that. And even shit like that, that's kind of like on the tighter ends of like the run stop combos, but it's just not something that I can reliably like work with consistently, especially since like I mentioned before, like this already is out of the question as far as like me like playing and stuff. Like it's just like things like that turns me off from like ever wanting to like give it a shot truly, even though I understand like in the grand scheme of how like the benefits are to that shit. And there's a combo that I want to try too that I actually got in on a previous recording, but the actual video overlay of the recording was snuffed out, so I'm gonna see if I can try to get it again. I actually got it a lot faster than last time. I just did that with keyboard, by the way, and that shit was that shit's one of the hardest things to do on keyboard at the moment for me. I'm actually surprised I got that in like my 7th or 8th try, but you know, that's just to give you guys you know, to put the idea in your head that, you know, you can even work with something as like obscure, as unorthodox as like a actual computer keyboard. And a bit of lore behind as to why I even know how to like do shit, aside from the fact that it's not that much different than a leverless. But I remember back in the day, like when I was in school, you know, before like everybody had like smartphones and shit. Damn, I sound really old. Most of us, when we had like free time and shit, would go on like the computer to play like the flash games that the school board hasn't like blocked on like certain websites. So I had come across like a flash version of the arcade version of Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. I'm gonna see if I could actually like find it. Okay, so I didn't end up finding it online. They probably like, it's probably long gone now, but back in the day there was actually like a flash version of Street Fighter 2 CE, and it was damn near like just like the actual like arcade version of it. Just like the only differences was like once you got your opponent down to a certain amount of health, the heavy damage music would not play, and but everything else pretty much ran just like the actual arcade champion edition. And that's where I would, since of course I was in school, I didn't have a controller or anything or a stick, I would actually use the keyboard to play the characters and stuff. Like I only played like Ryu. That's actually how I learned to play Guile too, because of the fact that charge characters are the easiest to play on a leverless, and I think that if you do play charge characters on a leverless style controller, then you know, you're playing them, you're gonna be able to play them at their best. That's just my take on it. And a lot of that is also the reason why I don't even play Guile now, because of the fact that things such as like his like perfect booms I just can't get on a stick like at all consistently. And of course I don't have real aspirations to like get a Leverless and, you know, learn the character. So that's just me personally. And but I know a lot of you guys are looking into like playing a Leverless style controller. I will like, once again, like my take on things is still kind of very limited, even though I do see the potential in it if you were to take the time to practice to learn how to, you know, use the style of controller and stuff, because of the fact that inputs here are even more perfect. Like everything there is still like textbook and stuff, and they're able to get inputted much quicker too. Let's see if I can get this combo. So honestly, like things like that, even to me, still are pretty effortless. But I'm not gonna lie and say when that I've still yet to run like consistent enough. I've probably only ever played against like the CPU with a Leverless style controller or a keyboard at all. So my experience here is very limited, but since we are still talking about the realm of execution and stuff, that's what this video is mostly about. You know, you if you play something of like a charged character or a Shoto, like I see you have like a higher ceiling, in my opinion, to have like a much cleaner like execution skill. I'm just not the best at it, as you can see here, or the most consistent, because I don't really practice it and stuff. But it's still, I'm still able to do like the simpler things. But don't get me wrong, if I were to show you guys footage of me doing all this shit on 4, like there's no way in hell I would even get like the 1 framers and stuff. Like it's just something that I'm not gonna even waste my time on. But overall, dude, like everything at the end of the day just comes down to like, how much time are you willing to put into each one of these things? Because knowing that I have like for me personally, knowing that I have like the potential to like become a master at each one of these things, it eased my mind in the sense to where like I don't freak too much about like if one of my controllers or sticks like blows up on me, even though it does take a bit longer to adjust to, depending on what I use at the very moment. I think about things such as like, you know, at the speed that I'm able to like, you know, learn the game at, because of the fact that now I'm being hindered by like my actual performance on a mechanical sense in game when it comes to like inputs, combos here and there. It's something that I believe makes the difference for me, because of the fact that you know, if I were to play stick throughout, and that's what I've been doing from here on out, I'm able to pick up and focus more on the actual game versus like me having to worry about, you know, the execution aspect and like knowing how to mechanically work through like you know, the basic things such as like a DP and how it all like doing the combos and stuff, doing the combos and shit. That shit I have to think about with like a pad and a leverless compared to like an arcade stick, because I'm already established with like how a stick moves and stuff. It allows me to pick up a new game a lot more easily and stuff, and much more quickly. It's usually the speed in which, like, you know, I'm able to like you know, learn the game that it's a make or break for me. And it's something that you guys have to consider too. But just know that you're not limited in a way that, you know, you'll never be able to like pick up something and not like be able to play with it. Each one of these things like, you are able to play the game with each one of these systems, and you as the player can adapt to each one of these like ways of playing the game. You're not limited by that. I mean, we've seen like players like Broly Legs who literally have physical incapacitations, and we've seen him like use his tongue to like control the analog, and like the one other hand to control the rest of the buttons. Like, rest in peace Broly Legs, right? And like, to me, like, literally I was talking with somebody yesterday about this shit. Like, there's no excuse, man, when like, there's really no excuse. You know, and I've seen some people go through like their own little, like, I guess, controller crisis, because they may not like they're just very like peculiar about, like, you know, how their own like pad works and stuff. Like, but me personally, I don't know, like, I just found a way to adapt with what I'm given at the time, considering that there's no way in hell that I'm investing, like, even for a stick, I'm not investing more than like probably $200. And that's it's difficult now because like the Victrix controllers are like 300 plus all around, and then some of the sticks reach board like just under that, either at like 250 here. But for the benefits that you or the features that it comes with for that price, to me is not really worth it, which is why for a good minute I actually held off on like buying a stick. And there was a period to where I was kind of I should say frozen in time with like my progression with Street Fighter 6, because of the fact that I wasn't playing at my 100%, and I had to rely on playing on pad, which is already not really the worst thing in the world, because for the first like 3 to 4 months I was playing Street Fighter 6 on a PS5 pad, because that's all I had at the time, or I thought I did at the time, until I realized my PS4 stick actually worked on PS5s. And but I will say that having to adjust to that took its own time, and I never ended up like performing at my 100% best, and it just felt so wrong, dude. I was so uncomfortable. I already talked about it, like having to switch between like the D-pad and the analog for the situations where they're the most scrambly, and I need like the quickness of it all. Like it put a lot more of a mental stack on me, and that's just something that I never liked at all. And I wasn't even gonna bother to try like to see if I could use my keyboard for that shit. That to me, like, no, like I'd still be here today trying to learn how to do shit on the right side of the screen. That's just something that I don't even have the time to like practice, even if I were to do something like that. But enough of me like bitching about that. Like nowadays, like I got my stick, I love my stick, and I haven't thought about like anything in the realm of like my own controller since, which is something that you guys have to find and stuff for yourself. Like the whole part of the reason why I'm even making this video is because like it's to highlight the aspect of you know, how important it is to like feel comfortable with like, you know, whatever you're using at the time, but also like to understand that there's many different options out there. If you're not aware of it now as like a new beginner player, as I mentioned before, this is more geared towards like, you know, the newbies who are new to the entire fighting game stick. Like you can, you know, pick up anything and play the game with it, but you also have to be willing to put in the time and effort to learn how to play the game mechanically and with whatever you're given at the time. And sometimes it can feel really awkward at first, and it's especially true if you're already like kind of deep in with like a different controller, and let's say you want to switch a pad to play like stick, or a stick to play pad, or a leverless. Like it's the weirdest feeling in the world to go against something that's like so natural to you, to the point to where I'm even thinking about it now, and I'm now just going over to my backpack. I'm grabbing my bag. I'm going to open up my bag. There it is, there's a zipper. I'm going to pull out my arcade stick. I'm going to make sure the wire doesn't get in my fucking way. I'm going to detangle the wire, which is not really that tangled to begin with. And I'm going to plug this bitch back in. And now I can play Street Fighter 6 again. And everything just feels so much better here. Like, this to me is like the way I'm gonna be moving or playing fighting games for pretty much the long run. Unless I find a reason to switch to a different controller, I have no reason to move away from something that's been the most reliable for me, right? Shortcut settings. Let me see something. I gotta set everything back up. Oh, that doesn't work. That's fine. Alright, everything's back to normal now. Now I have to get adjusted back again too. And all of that's effortless too. Which kind of, now it'll lead into the next thing that I probably have to give as advice. Once you do pick out something, like give yourself, or let's say you are you're more, this is more actually geared towards something when you're like transitioning into like a new controller and stuff. The thing that helped me to like get used to a new controller I was trying out, especially true when I was first even trying out like stick and stuff, right? Even though some aspects of it already kind of felt natural to me, like there was still a few moments to where like it felt awkward to kind of like move back and forth and like crouch down and stuff. Really the only thing I truly did was to really like get used to things and stuff was I allowed myself to really like take things like slowly and stuff, and understand like my own awareness of where I was in the screen, and like how I was like getting my inputs out, and what way I was like, you know, jerking the joystick around and stuff. So how holding down back felt on like a stick and stuff, and like how the transition was from like down to like forward and stuff. Like even those minor details like really matter, because like it'll make you a lot more self-aware of like where your inputs are at all times. And that's why I actually like a stick better, because to me it's just easier to follow, you know, where exactly I am inputting everything. Like this to me, like as you can see here, I know I can do this because like all of my inputs are never moving past like the down or like all the way up to the back, to up back and stuff. I can keep things like cleaner this way because I have a lot more control of everything, because I've not only I've trained it and stuff, but you know, I just can follow my own inputs easier. I know at what point when I hold down I'm gonna be moving to down forward and stuff. It's a lot easier to follow is what I'm trying to say, versus like a pad where sometimes like if I'm trying to do like a fireball or like a super and stuff with double quarter circles, sometimes my inputs will go back to like down back. And if I sometimes in a way too, like if I just like I guess hold my controller in a certain way, I won't even realize it, but I'll actually end up going into the up forward position. So the whole thing will be like a huge tiger knee motion, and that definitely has gotten me killed back in the day, and even sometimes up till now with playing 6. And that's the reason why I don't play pad now. And something like that will never happen with stick. That's all I can say. Like even right here, I can do this pretty much like all day. And even the DP right there, hold on. Everything there was like textbook, and you see no inputs on the left side of the screen to where like at any point like I jerked my stick to like anywhere back past the down position and stuff. And I can do this in a live match. Like it's just reliable for me, you know. On pad, it's definitely not happening. So, you know, that's just kind of been my own experience with everything. Some people are probably the opposite and stuff, in that, you know, they're actually able to find more stability and grounding with their own like execution with a pad compared to like an arcade stick or a leverless or something. Even though to me a leverless and a stick are only different in the aspects in which they in the realms of like the actual like movement and stuff, because everything else pretty much is the same as an arcade stick. But with a pad and stuff, I guess it's just kind of my own like that the experience is kind of unique to me, I guess, in a way, because of the fact that I switch between like a D-pad and a analog stick. That's gonna hinder me a lot, because I don't know how to do like quarter circles with a D-pad, or I can't reliably do like DP motions on a D-pad on both sides. So that's just my own like. That's on me, really, at the end of the day. But I've seen people like do all of that solely on the D-pad and stuff. And consider this too, that the type of controller that you are using for your specific category, like not every pad controller is the same, not every stick is the same, and that's definitely true with the previous sticks I had. Like my first stick that I used for 4 was a really cheap one. The good thing about it was that it did last me like 10 plus years, up until the beginning of this year, to where it finally broke out and died on me. And But the thing about that stick was, which most people mind, like most stick users won't probably like, is the fact that the actual like joy itself was really loose. So you were pretty much free to do everything you want. Every input would come out stupid fast because of how like slippery the actual stick was and stuff. But it felt like at any moment, like if you were to like, you know, mash this shit out anymore, like it felt like at some point it would lose its like stability and like kind of hang limp like this. Damn, this shit's sounding hell like sus as hell, but it's true. And the buttons themselves actually, like, they were stiff as a motherfucker, man. I felt like even at some points my fingers started to like get sore after playing for a while because of the fact that the buttons themselves were like really hard to like you had to have like there I'm pressing medium punch by barely like scraping the button and stuff, right? But when it came to that stick, like the buttons, you had to like put in a bit of effort to press down on it, and that's something that always like bothered me. But everything else was pretty much fine because the joy to me like felt good because I like something that's a lot more free and stuff to move around with compared to like the Razer Panthera Evo edition. Like that motherfucker, for some reason my joy on that stick was like really stiff, so it made mobility so fucking awful, man. Like I felt like I couldn't move because of the fact that every motion had to like like do I have that stick around? I do have that stick around. Give me a sec. Alright, so I got this back out. Buttons feel pretty much like good, I would say. Honestly, to some degree, I feel like they're even better than the one on the Hori stick. But the actual stick itself is like even right now, it doesn't even feel as like clean as far as like the inputs go. And I'm already feeling like the I guess I'm not even gonna say all that because that's gonna sound really weird if I say it. But yeah, it's just something that in the long run it ended up kind of hindering me more. But with the controller I got now, the actual stick, like it's pretty much everything I've been needing, even though it's not the most like premium of things that I've owned or tried out. It's something that works for me, and there's nothing that I would nothing that I can really like complain about, right? Like ever since then and stuff, everything has just been like buttery smooth and shit. So you know, that's pretty much all I got and stuff for you guys. My best advice to summarize it all is, if you can, give yourself time to try out like all three of the things or categories of controllers that I mentioned, if you can, of course, or pick the one that you feel or you believe would be the most natural to you, and you know, put in a bit of time to like really like get comfortable and understand with it, and see if you can really like take things far, you know, with the game, and like you can take things far with the controller in the game in the long run. If you know, you feel like you're not moving or learning at the pace that you'd feel like you could be, then you're free to like try out anything else and stuff. I feel like with myself personally, because of the fact that I have like a lot of experience in my own hands, just in general, in the space of like fighting games, it's gonna be easier for me to like pick up a Hitbox style controller and learn that. But for someone else who's like new, you're probably still in the space of even trying to understand like how quarter circles or DP motions work mechanically in fighting games, period. So you're in a void right now of the unknown for yourself. And you know, once again, the best advice I could give you guys is like, you know, pick out something that interests you, that intrigues you. And because like the reason why I picked out a arcade stick and still rock with it is because like you know, when I was really young and stuff, this was the controller that I saw like most high level pro players use and stuff, whether it be from NA or like especially the Japanese players during that time, like and I thought to myself like this must be like the way that like it's probably the best to play and stuff, you know. I got curious, and I also thought it would be better to like to like use something that seemed to me to be a lot more I guess simpler compared to like a pad. I don't know, a pad to me is a lot more complex for my hands, and everything worked out right. I gave it a shot. I spent like $60 on like my stick, and pretty much everything meshed well from the start. And you know, given like 3 to 6 months to like get everything like back into, I guess, a functional state, I'm now like, you know, the kind of player that I am that can do like the crazy shit. Even in some of the forward footage, like I still have like the ability to do like the more simpler but like the tighter lengths with the one framers with both pad and stick. So I've just given enough time, like put in the time to develop that, you know. So within time, you guys can do the same thing. Oh, excuse me. You guys will be able to do the same thing. And because of the fact that now fighting games are like, you know, they're a lot more approachable as far as like the actual mechanical skill ceiling goes. This game doesn't have many one frame links, any true one frame links, mind you. You know, the execution ceiling is a lot, you know, smaller. It is a lot smaller than what it used to be and stuff. So you guys should have no problem, like, you know, with picking up something and, you know, being able to learn something fast. I'm not understanding why I'm not getting that. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. Like I said before too, before I end things, there's literally no excuse. There is literally no excuse. Like, I've seen people in bracket bring like keyboards to play with and stuff, so I've seen a wide spectrum of like what people have used to like actually play on a competitive field with. So I've seen people still use PS4 pads, PS5 pads, Victrix pads, like Hori pads, fucking different the different kinds of arcade sticks I've seen, some cheap, some on the higher end, and the amount of leverless controllers I've seen too, man. Like, it's there's really no excuse. That's all I can say. Like, you definitely can pick something up and you know, roll with it, and if that doesn't work for you, move on to the next. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Damn, not gonna lie to y'all, y'all still kind of surprised me with the amount of attention some of the videos have gotten. Like, the videos have been doing well, my past few videos, for the size of my channel, and even up till now, like one of my videos from like Platinum to Ultimate Master, like that shit is still like growing too. And for those that have subbed and like stuck around, like, damn guys, like I fuck with you guys. I've spoken to some of y'all, some behind the scenes too, and y'all have just been like the coolest people and stuff, you know. And there's definitely going to be more to come and stuff. And the next few things I'm gonna talk about will be directly more geared towards the to Street Fighter in specific, just to kind of ease things off of like you know, the more like philosophical things which people might not like get immediately. This was a step into that direction. So I'm gonna head on out of here. This is Infinite 47, and I'll be seeing y'all around. Peace.
Yo.